You're wasting your LinkedIn ads budget, and the worst part is it's not even your fault. In this video, I'm going to run through how we use the LinkedIn ads API and the OpenAI API to make sure that our LinkedIn ad targeting is spot on, and I'll also give you the full template and script we use throughout this video at the end. And don't worry, it's not as complicated as that sounds. Now, one of the best things about LinkedIn ads is you can target businesses and firmographic attributes. The problem with this is that the people who actually sign up to the LinkedIn company page have to accurately identify which industry they're in and all the other bits and attributes that come along with it. Unfortunately, these people don't meticulously go through each option to find the best industry match as much as we'd like to think they do. Or there may just not be an obvious one for their company or industry they're in. For example, we target software development companies, and at least 30% of these companies we come across do not develop software. Also, on top of this, LinkedIn likes to play a bit fast and loose with who they target outside of the people you've specifically told them to target. So we also need to keep an eye on that to make sure they're not wasting your ad spend in that way as well. So let's jump into our process, and the step one would be accessing company impression data through the LinkedIn ads API. Now, if you go onto the LinkedIn ads backend, you'll be able to see typically a list of around 10 to 20 companies who have been seeing impressions of your ads. Now, within the platform natively, that's kind of where it stops, which is where the API can be so powerful. You can use tools like Supermetrics to be able to extract this API information easily into the likes of a Google Sheet. So if we go over here and go into a Google spreadsheet, we can go onto extensions, we can go onto Supermetrics. As you can see, we've used lots of different variations of API extractor tools, which you can explore. But if you go into Supermetrics, launch, sidebar, top right hand corner, if you go onto queries, you can go on to start from scratch. You can then select your data source, which would be the account you've connected to. If you want more information on how to do this, you can go to Supermetrics or your API extractor tool of choice. You can select your accounts, select the dates, and then within the metrics, you'll type in here, for example, impressions. Don't know what this is. Type in impressions. And any other sort of metric you want to bring next to that, which could be clicks, would be a good one, for example. Split by dimension, which would be company name. And then you can also do things like filter and only bring in, say, a campaign, because you target from a campaign level. You can have campaign ID and only target campaign IDs or names, or whatever metric or whatever filter you want to apply to make sure you get the most relevant information. It could be account wide, however you'd like to do it. So you go through and play with that. And if you get data, I don't want to bring up all of our company data here, but it'll look and bring up something that looks like this. On the left-hand side, you can see all the data from a company name perspective, which has been pulled through along with the impression data as well. So once you have this pulling through that step one, we can now go through, and there's going to be thousands of companies that you can actually go through and see who you're physically getting in front of, from how many impressions you're getting and how many clicks, if that's a metric that you've chosen as well. So already that's a really good start of actually showing visibility on who we're targeting and what's going on in the back, which isn't sort of a black box from the likes of LinkedIn ads actual native backend. So once we have that, we can then go and look into extensions and go on to app scripts. Now what I'll do is I'll link this spreadsheet already at the bottom, so you have all this contained within that, this script and the Excel, the sheet spreadsheet, which will become in a bit more handy as well as I get further on in the video. But I actually use ChatGPT to create this script, and what we have here, I'm not going to go too much into the outline of it, would be first and foremost, you need to enter your API key here. So first off, to get your API key, you need to go on to platform.openapi/API keys. You have to have a premium account for this, but it's super cheap. I think it's like £5 for 1 million characters. I'll have to double check that, but you can get a lot of data, say for £5, which should be 1 million sort of like characters that are typed out. So it's not going to be, break the bank from this perspective. So if you have a premium account and you can get an API key, and you can actually create usage caps and everything else, click on create API key, create one here. And then once you've done it, create API key here, it will then give you your API key that you can then go and copy and paste in this section, which I've said. Just take all this out, including these two dashes, and put the API key in there. Now, what I've done as a prompt is I've said in that row C, in that row C here, can we give a 20-word max description of the company? And you can put of company name, so it references this column here. You can obviously change that, and you can change and work around with this. I like 20 character description because it kind of gives you a bit of like an overview of their summary of their company with a bit more context versus like just a few words, which again may not be quite right. So once you've done that, you can hit run. You can go down here. There's a couple of things of how quickly this run rate happens because you didn't want it to sort of freeze up. So it doesn't go super fast. It goes at a pretty steady pace. But I'll show you in a second. But once you hit run, I go out of here, and then you can go on to macros, and then if these aren't showing, go import macros, which will import that from the script. And then once you've imported them, you can go back onto extensions, macros, and then put update company info. That will then start to show you a thing like this. I'll just play this video I created before in a previous one I made earlier. You can see the company description there going up and sort of just pinging down the right hand side. And what you can do in Supermetrics is you can create automatic update queries. So as soon as new companies are added, you can go through and you can see this new list of companies in the description. So it makes it really easy for you guys, if you're rather than Googling it and making sure they're the right fit, you can go in and actually make sure that you're hitting the right companies. So you can go through here and look at the descriptions, and you may start seeing lots of companies which actually aren't a good fit for who you want to target and fall with outside your ICP of who you're looking to target natively within LinkedIn ads, if you're not doing ABM and everything else along those lines. So what you want to do next is we want to create an audience within LinkedIn ads. We want to go onto audience, not predictive. We want to go into audience, matched audience, and company list / contact, and go next and go company list. And we can call this like, I don't know, negative companies like global. So we could have like just what we don't want to target across the board in any campaigns. It's a good reference. And what I've already done is I've got this template for you to actually upload included within this as well. So if you go over to sheet 2, you'll be able to see the template of what they want you to upload to start matching companies in LinkedIn ads. You know, they ask you for a website domain, LinkedIn URL, stock symbol, industry. You don't need all of that stuff. So typically what you just need is the company name, because the name here is directly under member company name is being pulled directly from LinkedIn. So if you upload that company name, it's going to be the exact match of what they're using anyway. So it should be a very, very high match rate. So LinkedIn company name, so you can copy it across from here, whack it in here, and then you can create an upload and upload this sheet back into negative companies. So once you've done this, you can create the company list. You can then upload that. So select list, and the one we just created, upload it into here. So next time you go and create a campaign, we create a test campaign. You want to go into the audiences of people you'd like to exclude. So you create people who you want to target. You got the exclusion list here. You go into audiences, go into list upload, and then you go onto company list, and you have your audience list, which you've just updated in here in one of our test accounts, to be able to then add that. So what happens is all the companies that you've gone through and deemed not relevant from the company description, you've added them into a list here, which is then being applied as a negative. And what we found, like we said, is there's a large percentage of companies who aren't right for your ICP, even though from the front end, you've done all the right setup and everything else. So it's the equivalent of what you'd look at like a negative keyword list would be like for the likes of Google Ads. This one's obviously from a B2B perspective and from a paid social and demand gen perspective versus like a direct response ad type as well. I hope you found that useful today, guys. If you want this sheet, I'll link to it down in the bottom where you can go and download it and implement it. Would love to hear if you have any thoughts. As usual, any questions, whack them in the comments below. But I think if you've watched already to this point, you're going to be quite fond of advanced LinkedIn ad strategies. So what I'll do is I'll link up here to 8 of the LinkedIn ad strategies, which the majority of companies we work with have never used or heard of before. And I think it would really help you guys get ahead. But any questions, always feel free to give me a shout. And until next time, guys, have a great week.